All right, let's speak to the Honorable Mukasa Mbidde. Good evening, Honorable.
Good evening, my brother.
I'm hearing quite a bit of your name being pronounced all over the place as they announce. Are they pronouncing winners or losers? But anyhow, so today you are one of the 46 contestants. Initially there were 47,
yes.
And one of them pulled out for reasons we hope to get to know along the way. 398 members of parliament are casting the ballot for you. As a contestant, as a candidate, how do you think the process has gone today so far?
I think I can honestly state that this has been one of the best events organized by the August House. They have followed Article 50 to the dot of the treaty for the establishment of the East African Community. Today we are lucky that we even have an East African Community election law for EALA. Then substantially the rules of procedure are commensurate with Article 50. And in my opinion, the process has been extremely transparent, and I think we can largely invest in it as one of the best processes in the years.
I was watching from where I was, and not many people were happy about the decorum, quote unquote, that was happening in Parliament. You know, there was a lot of booing. Some candidates were denied the chance to even say a word. One of them being Ingrid Kamatenich to Rinawe. They literally made it difficult for her to speak, and a couple of others. Do you feel that was the kind of decorum that should have been expected of our Parliament? Some people were disappointed out there.
You see, Parliament is punctuated with immunity. Parliaments the world over sometimes maintain the best decorum, commensurate with what is at play. But those same parliaments have even fought. The Parliament of Russia, we have had parliaments in India, we have had parliaments
so
where...
that makes it okay for us to do whatever best we might do.
It does not pass for what is the best. But you see, Parliament is tainted with politics. And politics, I have always equated it to a monkey's dance. If you do not want to be touched by a tail of a monkey, you don't join their dance. So that is the problem with the politics. All of us have suffered. This has not been the easiest for all of us. Even though those that have been insulted at a level of Parliament have been seen because the insults have been covered live. We have suffered away from Parliament. Others on social media, others on TV. You have repeatedly seen people insulting me, even on NTV. So that is politics. And for me, the way I handle my type of politics is that I continue consistently and insistently obtaining dialogue with those that have not understood me. If they fail to understand me, then we cut and begin to pursue contrary directions. That's what I do.
Let me be honest with you. As an observer on the peripheral, I'll tell you that for the people that are going to be elected, it's precisely because of the political parties they belong to. The NRM decided they're going to have 6, and then they agreed on how to allot the other slots to the friendly folks like yourself. And not too much do you get to hear of competence, of quality. And I'm not saying you're competent. However, people are not looking at your competence. They are looking at, is Mukasa Mbidde friendly to the NRM? Is Mukasa Mbidde going to give us a bloody nose when he's at EALA? And as a citizen, that worries me, that we are not sending people because they are skilled, because they have got what it takes to go and do a good job. But it's politics, you know, how much yellow do you have in you even when you belong to the Democratic Party and that kind of thing?
Again, that is a subject of sensitization. We have just passed a law on EAC, civic education. A lot of people do not understand what it's all about. The East African Community is not a country. It is a forum for negotiation between partner states on how to integrate. The integration has not occurred. So clearly, a member of EALA is performing a foreign affairs job on behalf of a country. So the treaty itself is not aware of which party is in government and which one is in opposition. It only looks at all political parties as unnatural citizens of the community, whose opinions should be considered while electing members to the East African Legislative Assembly. The issues to do with the government and the opposition are local issues. They are not regional. So whoever wants to bend local issues into a regional framework is a person who is wrong, who is not even aware of what is at stake before the integration, the East African Community integration agenda. So it is not an idea of who is yellow and who is not yellow. It should be an idea of who is Ugandan, That is the best way to elect a member of the East African Legislative Assembly. And this is not known to everybody. Even party leaders require sensitization. Even members, even me. I have seen a lot of people even campaigning on the podium, seeking to amend for purposes of curing hunger within the EAC. They have promised to handle land fragmentation. Now, land is not a cooperation area before the East African community. The cooperation agenda does not touch land. You cannot even touch. So I have seen people who are majorly speculative. They do not know what they are campaigning to do. Others are promising to handle natural resources, which has not yet been agreed upon. Others are touching matters which are merely annexes, not agreed upon. So it is a matter of civic education. Otherwise, local politics has no place before the East African Legislative Assembly.
Let's talk a bit about the way the process has been. A number of people feel there's been rapacity on the side of the NRM, greed. So to say, you have had this all over the place, because the treaty is not explicitly clear on how the slot should be divided. We have got 4 political parties represented in this August House. We've got the NRM, the UPC, the Democratic Party, the FDC, and then of course the Independents. There's 9 slots, and the NRM decided we are going to take 6. The other 3 slots are going to be sorted out among the other remaining 4. That's the FDC, the Democratic Party, to which you belong, the UPC, and then the Independents. And some feel, wait a minute, this is not fair. Perhaps the NRM should have said, let's take 5 and leave the other 4, a slot for each of them. Do you see fairness on their side?
The treaty does not apportion representation to all the parties in a personal state assembly. It is only insistent on the right of every political party to compete for office, but it does not guarantee a win for each and every political party. That is buttressed in one of the authorities of Mbidde versus the East African Community, Katuntu versus Attorney General and the EAC, Anyanga Nyong'o versus Attorney General of Kenya and the EAC. Those are all authorities commensurate with the procedure of elections of members of the East African Legislative Assembly. The reason why Ugandans think that each party should be represented is because they look at each party as thinking about as accessing the East African Legislative Assembly with a different opinion. Now, the opinion must be the Ugandan opinion, and that is where the problem lies. I have heard during our elections even people assuming that Muslims have not been represented. Now, you see, those are lackadaisical mentalities that only obtain here in Uganda. You cannot take them to a region, because Tanzania may have brought only Muslims. So clearly Muslims will be represented. So we are trying to coach an assembly which is the only organ for integration purposes. All the other organs, the organs of presidents were elected to lead each their own individual countries. The only organ on integration is the East African Legislative Assembly. It must look at itself as a singular entity integrating East African. That is where integration takes place first, before you think about anything else. So, my brother, I can safely tell you, we are on TV.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry, we are having an interview here. Oh, that's one of the contestants. I imagine you wanted to have a word with us.
Yes.
How do you bring comfort to Ugandans who will say, this particular one, the outgoing one, which you have been a part of,
that's right.
There was an acrimonious election. And
Yes.
this acrimony we saw being taken to the assembly. We saw an impeachment of the speaker, something which was engineered by you Ugandan representatives.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, we saw a lot of disunity, disjointment. And we have seen this election too. It's been quite boisterous, and we are thinking, wait a minute, are we not going to see worse than we did the other time? Because we expect you folks to be united, to speak as one voice and to operate that way. But you are going to, we worry, export the divisions like we saw in this running out term.
That is regrettable. You know that we warned that would have been one of the worst conduct that would have to be sustained before the East African Legislative Assembly. But they say that success is never premised on a principle of never falling, but rather, how many times do you wake up each time you fall? I can guarantee you that actually what took place after such krinkum before the assembly is actually a stable assembly that has enacted over 40 pieces of legislation before the East African Legislative Assembly. So in my opinion, that conduct is regrettable. it was extremely tainted with bad conduct, and I think it was guided by spite and malafide. It should not be repeated. However, the Assembly has picked up its pieces under the new leadership at a level that cannot even be comprehensible.
My time is
In my
up,
opinion,
Honorable.
that is the best way.
In 30 seconds, I know the vote tallying is still ongoing. We are yet to
Yes.
hear whether you'll make it to this August Assembly again. You
Yes.
have been a part of it, the outgoing term.
That's right.
What makes you think you deserve another term?
First
30
of all,
seconds.
I have got the competence. Two, as the chairperson of the Committee of Communications, Trade and Investment, a lot of work is within my hands. The next item on the agenda of integration is going to be enactment of a law to do with the operationalization of the Common Market Protocol. The issues that are going to be at play are economic models, establishment of equalization formula at the level of Exchequer Board of Bank of East Africa. Those are material particulars to which I have got great competence. In my
have made
opinion,
the promise.
it is urgent that I get elected.
We have watched you make the promise.
Yes.
Please deliver.
I
Because
am
we
going
shall
to do
pull
so.
them out and remind you and say, Honorable, here you lied to us.
History has absolved me. I have
We'll
never
wait
told
and see.
one.
Honorable Mukasa Mbidde, we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
We hope the voters don't koto in your pohu. And we wait to see how things to play out. Thank you for talking to us.
Amen. Thank you so much.
And that was Newsnight.